For thousands of years before the first European ship touched American shores, hundreds of distinct cultures flourished across this continent. They spoke different languages, built different structures, developed different technologies. They had almost no contact with each other across the vast distances that separated them. And yet, they told the same stories. The same beings, the same events, the same warnings about what happened before and what might happen again. Modern archaeology has spent decades dismissing these accounts as primitive mythology, the imaginative explanations of people who didn't understand the natural world. But here's the thing, the more we learn about ancient America, the more these myths start looking like something else entirely, like memories. If you've ever wondered why tribes separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years shared nearly identical accounts of sky people, underground cities and world-destroying floods, trust me, you'll want to keep watching. The first legend comes from the Hopi people of northeastern Arizona, one of the oldest continuously inhabited communities in North America. According to Hopi oral tradition, humanity has lived through multiple worlds before this one. Each previous world was destroyed when humanity fell out of balance with nature and the Creator. The survivors were guided to emerge into the next world through an opening in the earth called the Sipapu. What makes this account remarkable isn't the concept of cyclical destruction, which appears in mythologies worldwide. It's the specificity. Hopi elders describe the third world being destroyed by a great flood that covered everything except the highest peaks. The survivors floated on hollow reeds until they found dry land. They emerged into the fourth world, our current world, through a hole in the ground located in the Grand Canyon region. Geologists have documented evidence of catastrophic flooding in the American Southwest approximately 12,900 years ago, during a period known as the Younger Dryas. The flooding wasn't metaphorical. It was real, caused by the rapid melting of continental ice sheets and, possibly, by comet impacts that destabilized the climate. The Hopi remembered. They encoded that memory in stories they passed down for over 10,000 years. The second legend travels north, to the Ojibwe people of the Great Lakes region. The Ojibwe speak of the Thunderbirds, enormous beings of incredible power who live above the clouds and control the storms. They're not gods in the conventional sense. They're described as physical creatures, with feathers that flash like lightning and wing beats that produce thunder. Here's where it gets interesting. The Ojibwe don't describe Thunderbirds as supernatural entities. They describe them as a species that lived alongside humans in ancient times and eventually withdrew from the visible world. Paleontologists have documented that giant flying creatures did exist in North America until approximately 10,000 years ago. The Cherokee, a massive bird with a wingspan of over 12 feet, was the largest flying bird in the Americas. It went extinct around the same time the Ojibwe say the Thunderbirds departed. Coincidence? Maybe. But the Ojibwe descriptions include details that match fossil evidence they had no scientific way to know. The third legend comes from the Cherokee people of the southeastern United States. Cherokee oral history describes a race called the Nunahee, the people who live anywhere. They weren't ghosts. They weren't spirits. They were a separate people who lived in the mountains and valleys of Cherokee territory, usually invisible to human eyes. The Nunahee lived in elaborate underground towns accessible through hidden entrances in hillsides. They were described as helpful but secretive, emerging occasionally to assist Cherokee villages during times of crisis, then vanishing back into their hidden world. In the 1800s, Cherokee, who were forced westward on the Trail of Tears, reported that the Nunahee appeared to them on the march, walking alongside the refugees and then disappearing when soldiers approached. Archaeological surveys of the southern Appalachians have documented numerous unexplained underground chambers and tunnel systems that predate any known Native American construction technique. The Cherokee say they didn't build those tunnels. The Nunahee did. The fourth legend crosses the continent to the Yakama people of the Pacific Northwest. Yakama tradition speaks of a time when giants walked the earth. Not metaphorical giants. Physical beings of enormous size who built structures humans couldn't replicate. The giants eventually angered the Creator and were destroyed in a cataclysm that reshaped the land. Geologists have confirmed that approximately 15,000 years ago, catastrophic floods repeatedly swept across the Pacific Northwest. The Missoula floods, caused by the sudden release of water from glacial Lake Missoula, were among the largest floods ever documented, moving at speeds of up to 80 miles per hour and carrying boulders the size of houses. The Yakama remembered those floods, but they also remember who was here before them and what happened to make them disappear. The fifth legend returns east to the Iroquois Confederacy, one of the most sophisticated political organizations in pre-contact North America. Iroquois tradition describes the Sky Woman, who fell from a world above the clouds and landed on a great turtle's back. With the help of animals, she created the earth from mud, brought up from the bottom of a primordial ocean. But the Sky Woman wasn't alone. She came from somewhere. The Iroquois describe a civilization in the sky world with buildings, agriculture, and social structures. She fell through a hole in that world and descended to this one. The astronomical precision of Iroquois culture suggests this wasn't mere imagination. Iroquois calendars tracked celestial events with accuracy that rivals modern observations. They knew things about the sky that European science wouldn't discover for centuries. Where did that knowledge come from? The Iroquois say it came from the people who lived above the cloud. The sixth legend emerges from the Navajo people of the American Southwest. Navajo cosmology describes 4 previous worlds that existed before this one, each destroyed by a different catastrophe. But the Navajo accounts include something unusual. Detailed descriptions of the beings who guided humanity through each transition. The Dayan-Daini, often translated as holy people, weren't gods. They were teachers. They showed humans how to survive, how to build, how to read the stars. And then they left. Navajo sand paintings, some of which encode astronomical information dating back thousands of years, depict these beings with remarkable consistency. Humanoid forms with elongated heads, bodies that seem to emit light, knowledge that came from somewhere beyond human understanding. The Navajo say the holy people didn't abandon us. They're waiting. They'll return when humanity is ready to remember what we've forgotten. The seventh legend takes us to the Pawnee people of the Great Plains. The Pawnee were among the most astronomically sophisticated cultures in pre-contact North America. Their villages were laid out according to star patterns. Their ceremonies aligned with celestial events. Their priests could predict eclipses with accuracy that astonished European observers. According to Pawnee tradition, this knowledge came from the star people. Not metaphorically, literally. Beings from specific stars who descended to Earth taught the Pawnee everything they knew and then returned to the sky. The Pawnee didn't pray to stars as abstract deities. They communicated with beings they believed lived there, beings who had visited their ancestors and might visit again. Modern astronomy has identified several of the stars the Pawnee specifically referenced. All of them are relatively close to Earth in cosmic terms. All of them have characteristics that would make them candidates for hosting habitable planets. Coincidence? Maybe. But the Pawnee seem to know which stars to watch. The eighth legend comes from the Lakota people, relatives of the Pawnee but with their own distinct traditions. Lakota oral history describes the Star Nation, a collective term for beings from beyond Earth who have watched over humanity since the beginning. The Lakota don't describe them as gods or spirits. They describe them as relatives, older relatives who seeded life on Earth and have maintained interest in how their descendants develop. The most sacred site in Lakota territory is Devil's Tower in Wyoming, an 867-foot geological formation that rises abruptly from the surrounding plains. The Lakota call it Bear Lodge, and they say it's a place where communication with the Star Nation is possible. They also say it wasn't always a tower. It was shaped, carved, transformed by something that wanted to create a marker visible from the sky. Geologists can't fully explain how Devil's Tower formed. The conventional explanation involves volcanic intrusion and erosion. But the precision of the formation's geometry and its isolation from similar structures suggest processes that aren't fully understood. The Lakota say they understand. They've always understood. The ninth legend travels south to the Creek and Seminole peoples of the American Southeast. Creek tradition speaks of the tie snakes, beings that lived in rivers and lakes and guarded the underwater entrances to another world. They weren't malevolent, but they were powerful, and they didn't appreciate intrusion. The Creek described underwater cities where the tie snakes lived, elaborate structures built beneath the lakes of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. They said that certain lakes were bottomless because they opened into these underground realms. Modern sonar surveys of lakes in the American Southeast have documented unexplained structures on lake bottoms, geometric shapes that don't match natural formations. In some cases, these structures appear to extend beneath the sediment to unknown depths. The Creek say those are the entrances the tie snakes guard, the entrances to the world below. The 10th legend comes from the Haida people of the Pacific Northwest coast. Haida mythology includes detailed accounts of Raven, a being of immense power who shaped the world, freed the sun from captivity, and taught humans how to survive. But Raven wasn't alone. The Haida describe a complex hierarchy of beings, some human-like, some animal, some neither, who competed and cooperated in the creation of the world we know. What makes the Haida accounts notable is their specificity about destruction events. They describe a time when the sea rose catastrophically, drowning coastal lands and forcing survivors to the highest peaks. They describe a long darkness when the sun disappeared and the world grew cold. Both events are documented in the geological and ice core records. The catastrophic sea level rise of the Younger Dryas period, approximately 12,900 years ago. The volcanic winter that followed major eruptions. The extinction of species that had dominated North America for millennia. The Haida remembered all of it. They wove those memories into stories that have survived for over 10,000 years. The 11th legend belongs to the Zuni people of New Mexico. Zuni cosmology describes humanity emerging from underground through a series of 4 chambers, each representing a stage of human development. The beings who guided this emergence weren't human. They were the raw people, primordial entities who existed before the sun and prepared the world for human habitation. The Zuni say the entrance to the underworld is real. It's located in a specific place they call the place of emergence, and it can still be found by those who know where to look. Archaeological surveys of Zuni sacred sites have documented entrances to cave systems that extend to unknown depths. The Zuni have prevented scientific exploration of these sites, not because they doubt what's there, but because they know. Some places aren't meant to be explored by people who don't understand what they might find. The 12th legend spans the entire continent, the story of the Great Flood. From the Hopi to the Haida, from the Iroquois to the Lakota, virtually every Native American culture includes an account of a catastrophic flood that destroyed a previous world. The survivors either floated on vessels, hid on mountaintops, or were guided underground until the waters receded. These accounts aren't vague. They include specific details about how the flood began, how long it lasted, and what the world looked like afterward. They describe the same event from different geographic perspectives, like witness statements from survivors who experienced the same catastrophe in different locations. The geological evidence confirms what the myths describe. Approximately 12,900 years ago, massive flooding from melting ice sheets and possible comet impacts reshaped the North American continent. Civilizations that had developed over thousands of years were swept away. The survivors started over, carrying only their memories. Those memories became the myths we dismiss as primitive imagination. Here's what we know. Native American oral traditions encode information that matches scientific evidence their tellers had no way to know through conventional means. Flooding events, extinction episodes, astronomical observations, descriptions of beings and technologies that don't fit our understanding of prehistoric America. Either these cultures independently invented remarkably accurate fictional accounts that happened to match reality, or they remembered things we've forgotten. Modern archaeology is beginning to reconsider. Dr. Thomas Stafford, a geochronologist who has studied pre-Clovis sites across North America, has argued that oral traditions deserve the same scientific scrutiny as physical evidence. They may preserve information about events that left no other trace the original Americans remembered. They encoded those memories in stories they've protected for millennia. And those stories are telling us something we're only now prepared to hear. If you made it this far, thank you. Leave a like if these legends resonated with you. Tell us which myth you find most compelling and which cultures we should explore next. But remember, the people who lived here first weren't telling fairy tales. They were preserving history. History we're only beginning to understand, and some of what they remembered might be waiting to be rediscovered.